Welcome back to From Nine to Mom.
Where we discuss balancing the 9 to 5 hustle with the beautiful chaos that we call motherhood.
So last night, Danielle, Ryan, and I were having a discussion because I get into that mentee B breakdown area where
Been there?
there's so many things on my to-do list, and I'm a list person. I have like 17 lists for the list of the list, and Ryan's always so great and is like, what can I help with, and then I just don't ever delegate anything to him because why would I?
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people are in that same boat.
We all are in that same boat. I think it's the life of women, especially working women. I just think that it doesn't matter how many times that the husbands ask, what can I do? In your head, it's almost like work, right? You're like, I can do it
Yeah.
easier, faster myself. By the time I explain it to you, I could have it done. So we
Right.
end up in this place where the added workload of being a mom on top of working, we feel like we can't pass it off. And the truth is, we probably could pass some things off.
I mean, for sure.
But
You totally could. But we got to a point, so I posted that TikTok, if you guys follow us, that was like, you're working, but you're thinking of, and it's like all the list of things that like are at home. And I always find myself doing that. Like I'm at work, I think about the stuff that I have to do at home. And then when I'm at home, I think about my work to-do list for some reason. Like
yeah,
my brain's like thinking that way. And Ryan was like, yeah, like, what else is on your, like, he'll be like, what's your list? Like, tell me your list or whatever. And like, just like try to talk it out. And I'm like, there's nothing you can even do. There's not even somebody at work that can help me with my work to-do list. Like, what do you want me to, what do you want to do? And, there's things like, I've been waiting to make Jack a dentist appointment. I've been dreading, we don't want to go because he's going to freak out a little bit about it, but I know he needs to. And Ryan could totally do it, but like, I need to do it because I want to book it for when I can go to do it because I know I want to go. So like I can control it in that fact, but I know there's things on Ryan's mental load, I presume, that like I don't think about. Like I know the example he would want me to give is like mowing the lawn or like or landscaping around our house. Like that's not on my list. Like I don't worry about any of that. That's his, that's his gig
yeah.
to
But are
do.
you the type of person where like that's on his mental workload? It's always been Jordan's workload too, is like the lawn. But recently I got pissed off because there were leaves, and the reason I was really mad was for a million other different things that I had on my list. But for some reason, the leaves in the front yard like really got to me, and I was like, Jordan, I need you to buy me a rake. He's like, Danielle, you're never going to buy a rake. I'll just use the blower. I'm like, well, obviously you won't because you haven't blown the leaves. Mind you, I never asked him to blow the leaves. I never even said anything about it. It's just in that moment, I was like, I'm mad. If I'll handle it, I can do it. So I made this poor man buy me a rake. I have yet to rake the leaves, but in my head, it was like one of those things like, don't do it. I'm
going to take it into my own control.
Yeah. And we do that all the time to them.
Yeah. And I know that there's times where like Ryan's like, well, you're the one that planned it. Or like when it comes to plans, like with like friends or that, like I always book the plan. Like I'll make the plans or whatever. And Ryan's like, now we have too much to do. And like, I get it. Like we aren't the like, go. We want something to do every second of the day. Like we like to have downtime at home and be with the, at home with just the kids. And so he'll be like, oh, we're just so busy and I'm so tired. And it also stems from like, he's in the office Monday through Friday full time. And I'm, part-time in the office. So like, I'm ready to be social on the weekends sometimes, and his battery is depleted. So like, we're not always on the same page with that. And in my brain, I'm like, that we're saying like the mental load, like have I hung out with our friends enough? Like have the kids had enough play dates? Like that's all stuff that weighs on you throughout the week where you're like, you get in a routine, and then come the weekend, like, should my kids be seeing other kids, like having play dates? Like what they don't have enough.
Yeah. Well, like you're laying in bed and you're like, oh wait, do my kids have enough friends? Should I have reached out to that person to set something up for the weekend? Like, do I have enough on the board for them? Oh my gosh, like I haven't called this person in 3 weeks. What if they don't want to talk to me? Like, it's not just now you're thinking for before, like we used to think for ourselves and our husbands. Like you used to plan for you and Ryan. I used to plan for me and Jordan. Like we thought for us and them. Then you add kids to the mix. Now you're thinking for them, and for us both have 2 kids, 2 different kids, 2 different personalities, ages, needs. And then on top of that, work. And at some points you're just like, the amount of times that I have driven in the car listening to Taylor Swift's like do it with a broken heart, like with a tear, like just streaming down my face, like in the last 3 months has been out of this world. And it's just true. Like, I think that's like the ode to women and moms who work. It's nothing against men. So many times it comes across as like man bashing. It's not man bashing. It's just in society, it's just a fact. Women were always responsible for all of these things, right? And then women started entering the workplace. So then you've got women who are already exhausted and putting in so much effort at the workplace. And now you have all the other things that come from motherhood. And a lot of times we prioritize work, kids, then our husbands too. So then they get resentful or upset because they're not a priority. And I'm sure that hurts their feelings sometimes. It has to.
Yeah. And I think even with some of it, like, sometimes they don't see, or, they don't recognize what things we're worrying about. And then sometimes like Ryan will be like, why are you worried about if Jack has friends? Like,
and then when they say
that,
then don't you get mad? Then you're like,
and
are
then
you
you're
kidding
like,
me? You don't worry?
Like, I'm like, is he like, does he talk enough? Like, does he do this? Is he smart enough? Like, I don't know. And then you worry about all those things. But yeah, it's like, I think just maybe they have a little bit in their brain of like, okay, you can't control that. So why are you worried about that? But then, you like start checking all the boxes of all the things you have to do, and you just run out of time. And then you get angry at yourself because you're like, oh, wait, I just laid on the couch and watched TikTok for an hour. I could have been knocking stuff off my to-do list. But
the guilt you feel when you do anything to decompress or plan anything for yourself, it's almost like I would have rather not done it because now I feel guilty that I did it. And they don't have, from my observation, I don't know if you've ever seen that thing. It's ages old. Like, it was around when my mom and dad were parents of us at this age. There was that boxes guy. He'd be like, men's brain works in boxes. Like, and we always joke about that in our family. Have you ever seen that?
No.
So it's a guy explaining that the way men's brains work is everything's a box. So they have their work box, their kids box, their wife box, their golf box, their sports box, and I don't know, whatever boxes they've got. And when they're in their box, they're fully in their box. So like they don't, the way their brains work is when they're at work, they're only thinking about work. Where we're at work, like you said, and we're thinking about social life, our kids, the doctor's appointments. Like, it's constantly a reel playing in the back of our heads of all the things that we have to do. And it's so funny. We'll have to post it because it makes so much sense. And now in today's world, you hear women all the time on TikTok and Instagram talking about that invisible workload that we have. Like, the fairy comes and schedules all doctor's appointments, pays all bills. Like, today I had to go on, my kid's school keeps calling me, and it's an automated response from a male superintendent that's like, you owe 0.01 cents on your son, on Colton Henderson's lunch account. It's like, great. Now I couldn't figure out where is the lunch account. I signed into the one account. It's not there. I have to text a friend, ask them where it is, finally figure it out. It's all during the workday, right? Because they keep calling me in meetings.
You're like, are they going to give him lunch or not?
Like, I don't know if he's going to eat today, right? Like, is this kid going to eat? So now I'm going and I have to pay for it, and I'm doing that. And then at the same time, I'm getting messages from work like, oh, we got to do this, that, and the other. And then my husband's calling me being like, I have to pay my registration. Like, where should I go? What do I do? And you're like, are you kidding me? Sometimes you just want to say, like, I want all noise out of my head. I just want people around me to make a decision, like, externally from me, like anybody else. Like, it could be the smallest thing. Like, they could ask the most innocent question, like, what are we eating for dinner tonight? And I completely explode. But it's not about the question about dinner. It's about the 17,000 other things that I just did that you don't even know about, because I'm not going to tell you every time I wipe my nose.
Yeah. Well, and then that's the hard part is, like, I feel like a lot of people are in, like, how I would react to it is like, you almost are like, yeah, I wish somebody would make the decision and do it or whatever. And then I'm like, well, do I really want them to do that?
No.
Like, I'm too controlling. I can't allow other decisions to get me. So it's like a revolving door of things, but like, I don't know, things that have helped me are just sticking to the schedule and making lists is like the only way I can survive in life is like having all my lists and doing things, because otherwise I forget and do things. But I know people like set reminders of like reaching out to their friend. I actually saw a TikTok that was talking about like the mental load and that. And they're like, yeah, just start scheduling out texts to your friends. Like when you have like 15 minutes, just schedule out a bunch of texts that go through and like
Well, how
say,
many
hey, how are you
times
doing? And
do
just
you
schedule them.
forget
So it's like, okay,
to
automated.
respond to somebody? Like in my ADD brain, I'm like,
Oh
oh,
my
I already
God.
responded to that person. 3 days later, I go to text them some dumb thing and I haven't answered their
Oh,
question from 2 weeks ago.
that
Like,
was literally me to you this weekend. Like you sent me a picture and then Monday, I'm like checking. Oh, I didn't answer you. Sorry.
whoops, but things happen and you're like
I,
thinking about it. But
yeah.
I do one thing that has helped me like socially. It's my one friend's idea. She's very type A, very scheduled out. And I am a list person, like very much so. Like I have notebooks, agendas, like it's kind of crazy and I still forget stuff.
Yeah.
But she made us schedule phone dates every week. So we had a specific day, specific time where like no matter what happened, we would have a phone date, and it helped our relation. We're long distance friends, and it did help our relationship so much because it gave us an outlet. We were missing talking
Right.
to each other.
Yeah.
And it gave us an outlet to talk about life that we would have not prioritized that. In those days, I was in such a better like place because I had fueled
That
my tank
connection. Yeah.
and that connection. And I think that that's one thing that we oftentimes like give up. Like a 10-minute shower alone is a luxury at this point, at this stage in the game. And I know it's
Right.
just a phase, but like it shouldn't be a luxury. Like everyone
Right.
else in our lives gets to go take a shower and not ask for it or be bothered by it. It's like, I'm going to go take a shower. But we feel like the list is so long. Like, and then when we're in the shower, I'm talking on like sometimes, like, no offense, people, I've definitely done it to you, Katie. I'm talking to somebody in the shower about like what needs to get done because I don't have time to shower. Like it sounds crazy.
You keep moving with the day, and that's where things can get lost in the shuffle of things when you just have to keep moving and you're trying to connect, and you wear out so quickly with things. And that's, I feel like, where people can get resentful and feel that way. But then you also have to like take a second and look at yourself and be like, okay, like, am I just not asking to do things? Because we know our husbands would do stuff if you asked them.
Yes, they would.
And I know that you don't like everyone out, like you were saying, it's sometimes it's like, I don't want to have to tell you what to do. I just want you to do it. But like, we've also been carrying this for so long that they might think a fairy comes and does it. Like, like it just like gets done or whatever. Like one of the things that always killed me was like deciding what to eat. I'm so bad at it. And Ryan and I have gotten in such a good cycle of like, we both sit down Thursday night and plan the menu for the week. And that's what we have. And then I'll do the grocery shopping and that. But I'm like, you got to bring me like 1 or 2 meals that you want to have in the next week because I can't pick every night.
Well, and that's like such a smart idea. We tried doing that for a while because I hate grocery shopping. I know you love it. It's like your little outing. I hate grocery shopping. I hate cooking, all of that. Like, I don't want to do it. And Jordan used to take that on. But as we've had kids, the meals that he used to cook, the kids don't eat. He gets frustrated and he's kind of like stopped doing that too. So now that's like another thing. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but like, I never had to do that before. So now I have to add that to the plate. But I'm sure if I was like, Jordan, you're back in the game. Here's the meals we need. Go shop for them. Get the stuff.
Right.
Like just do it. He would do it. But I need to be more clear. And I think that's the part sometimes that frustrates us all is like, if I give you a list, like, and I forgot something on, like when we finish something, our list in our head is so long. If it's not written down, it doesn't mean we're not going to go do, what's the next thing I can do? Like, I'm going to declutter that junk drawer that's been sitting there, like, because I have 15 minutes. No, like, but like in your head, you're like, oh, let's go do that. And for them, the list is done that you wrote down, like specifically. And then, they're out like working on the golf swing or something because like they moved into that box. Like my list is done. And for them, their list is done. And you can't expect them to understand your mental list if you don't explain it to them, but it's just a different way of thinking. Like and then you get frustrated that they don't think that way. And then you're mad at them. And then, like you said, builds resentment. But sometimes you just got to be like, okay, if this is so important, if this is all the stuff, like maybe I do write it out and like, or we do like every Monday, we're going to clean. I've seen that. Like we've tried that here on the podcast. Like on Mondays, we clean bathrooms. On Tuesdays, we, do the grocery list, whatever it is, trying to like break it all down because we are our own worst enemy. I get so frustrated and so mad, but like I've signed up for 2 gym classes in the last 2 weeks and I've skipped both of them because something else was a bigger priority.
Right.
Like most men wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? They would go because they made the commitment to themselves and they already told somebody and they're going to go do that. And it's just, we have to start being better, but there's just so much guilt associated with
Right.
not doing all the things. Like you're letting somebody down.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a part of it too, and then you get to a point where then you build up all these things and then you're like, "Oh, how can he think he can go work on his golf swing?" But it's like you are your own worst enemy sometimes because you didn't communicate that your list isn't done, or, he can't help if I'm starting to think about my work list and getting stressed out for the week because I have a lot to do at work, but I also have to do preschool pickup and drop off, and then this, like, it's just, there's some things that you can't get that help with all the time, and
Yeah.
you got to keep working through it. You just have to get through some of the pieces, but then being able to communicate, I think, when you get to the point of overwhelmed is important so that you don't lash out,
Yeah, because what
because
I'll shut down and just start
we
doing
know that that
everything. Jordan
happens.
knows. He's like,
I was going to
what's
say, I think our husbands can read us
yes.
at this point. Like, Ryan will know if I don't look at him when I go to turn to walk up the stairs with a load of laundry. He's like, "Oh,
Or like
do you
you
need
make
help?"
extra noise, like you're making a little extra noise doing the task, or like you're just
Yeah.
doing dumb stuff and they're like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm just going to do it. And they're like, well, what do you need? And you're like, nothing from you. Like, and they feel bad because they're like, okay, this is
Yeah,
great.
like, cool. Or like the worst thing for me is, so Ryan will think I'm giving him a dirty look. And sometimes I am, obviously,
Yeah,
but like
good.
sometimes I'm really not. And then I get really even more mad when I'm not trying to give him a dirty look, but he's trying to read me, right? Because he
Yeah.
knows, like, he's trying to read if I'm getting like overwhelmed or whatever. And then I'll be like, this is just the way I look. Like, do you think I just look like a bitch? Like, I'll just freak out. This is just
I'll
how
do
I
the
look.
same
What do you
thing.
mean?
Like that it does make me more mad. Like, cause sometimes, like you said, I am doing it for like the dramatic
Yeah,
effect.
obviously.
But then other times, like I'm being genuine. Like there was an example this weekend where like I was already planning to go upstairs and like get
Hmm.
Daisy an outfit. And Jordan, but she needed a diaper too. So Jordan was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. I didn't know. He's like, Danielle, I'm still waiting here. Like, do you want to throw me down a diaper? And I was like, don't worry about it. I'm going to get her an outfit. I'll come down in a second. And then he's like, I came down like literally in a second. And he's thought that I was being like, I'm just going to
Short.
do it for myself,
Mhm.
like in short. But like, I really didn't know what she was going to wear. And I found the outfit really quick. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll bring it down. And we got in an argument over it because he thought I was being like, rude
Yeah.
or like trying to
Yeah.
prove a point. But in that moment, I genuinely wasn't. Like, I didn't know what
Yeah,
she was
you
going
were
to
just
wear.
like,
I was like, oh,
yeah.
whatever. And then
And, like, you can appreciate him trying to, like, be sensitive to it, but I feel like we've gotten them to a point of,
yes.
like, they know some of it. I think clothes is such a funny topic because I typically pick out the boys' outfits,
Mm-hmm.
and I try so hard to let go. And me, Ryan knows this already if he's even still listening to this episode. But like, I will be like, I'll let him. Usually, I pick out the kids' clothes like a
Yeah.
couple days in a row because I'm
Same.
that
Jordan is not allowed to
psycho.
dress my children, but good for
Okay,
you for
so
letting Ryan try.
he does, right? But like the matching's not always up to par. And like with Jack going to preschool now, like I want him to look good when he goes to preschool. And I'll let him dress Kale, and this is so bad, but like if he's going to my in-laws or, where I like, okay, if he doesn't match perfectly, it's okay. But like if they're gonna go in public, I want him to look halfway decent.
Yeah.
So I try to let Ryan go do it. And then when it doesn't look right, I'll say something. And he's like, well, then you just do it. And I get the frustration on his side
Yeah.
because I'm
I'm
like, I'm so
trying.
controlling. I can't even let him take the clothes out for the kids. So
Well, then it's,
sometimes you're like, why do I do this to myself?
but
Does
at
it
the
really
same
matter
time,
if
it's
they
like,
have.
try. Like, Jordan, you've seen the outfits and Jordan, if you're listening, you know how bad you are at this. And I can say whatever I want because this man put my daughter in tights, not leggings, tights that were too small, a t-shirt that was too small. And then somehow she'd gotten into my pads and thought they were stickers. And he went to the grocery store with this child looking like an absolute disaster with a pad on her outfit. Like he
It's
is a
hilarious.
mess. But then I'm like, are you doing it on purpose? But no, you're not. Like this is just in his head.
Right.
This is what he thought was appropriate. But that's one thing like I can't give up anymore because he's proven himself with Daisy. With Colton, I'm fine. But like with Daisy, like the girl can't wear stockings and a crop top, babe. Like it doesn't, and no
That is
shoes.
a unique situation. I don't know how it would go if Ryan tried to pick out a little girl's outfit. Like with the boys, sometimes I can get past it. Like I don't care. He also has this way of like, I organize the boys' drawers and like, I'll put stuff that's the next size up or like, some
Correct.
stuff's getting too small. So I hide it in the back a little bit and I'm like, I'll sort that out when I go through their drawers next.
I do the same thing.
He manages to find it right in the back. And then Kale's
It's a
wearing
gift.
freaking leggings out. It's just funny though, but then it's like he's trying.
They're trying.
And I'm just that in my head that I can't even just let him do that.
Listen,
Sometimes it's like, you can't get out of your own way.
no, and it's your own fault. But at the same time, like we talk about the invisible workload, like as the mom, and because I am so specific and particular, I put away all the kids' clothes. Like you said, like my husband has never put Daisy's clothes away, has never put Colton's clothes away. When they get too small, he doesn't worry. Like when you see those leggings on Cal, like you're like, oh wait, like he needs bigger clothes. He needs a bigger pair of shoes. Like we think about this stuff. Like we'll see a cute kid walking by and like with a haircut. Oh my God, my kid needs a haircut. Like we got to go do that. Like, and you make this list for yourself of all the things you've got to do. And that's on ourselves. But at the same time, like if I try to let Jordan go into Daisy's room and sort through her clothes and organize them, I think he might have a heart attack. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he'd be great. We should just do this test. But like, it's just one of those things that you can't just like, are we control freaks, or is the invisible workload just so strong that we just, I don't know.
I think the issue is like, I'm very type A, you're type A with some type B.
Yeah.
And there are type B moms out there, but I think most moms are on, like, you have a little type A in you and you have to be controlled. Like it's just in our nature and you can't control it all the time. Even if not, like I feel like most women like control where we go to eat, where we go. So if you're somebody that, your husband does it, that's
let
great.
us know. Or like if you were like us and then you got your husband to a place where you feel comfortable, not about them, like where you feel comfortable giving up some control, that would be cool too.
Yeah, like what's wrong with us that we can't give up the control?
I don't know. I ran into someone I know today at like not expecting it. And we had a conversation here at the office where it was like she was saying the exact same thing. And I don't know if it's working moms or whatnot, because she was saying literally like the exact same things that I would say about like, she's like, I got a second job because our kids are going to college and my son is super smart and he wants to go to this big, like expensive school and I need another 300 grand. So like, I need to go do this, this, and this. And like, she put that workload. Does it sound familiar, Katie? Like she put that workload on herself, right? Like to make that happen for her child but also give her husband the space he needs to follow his goals and dreams. And like, here you are like hustling, making things happen, still worrying about all these little things, but you have to show up in every scenario, whether it's your marriage and like your love life, your children's lives in school, your workplace, and your leadership roles. Like you have to show up 110% in all of those roles, but you feel like a rag doll sometimes. And then you get mad at everyone around you, or you lash out at somebody who had nothing to, like the real reason that you're upset is because you had all these 7,000 other things. And this is just the icing on the cake. And then you explode.
Yeah. It makes it so hard because it has nothing, like we were saying, sometimes it has nothing to do with anybody else. And it's just our personality is bringing it in, because a lot of people think like the workload and they want to like shit on their husbands and that. And like me and you don't have any stones to throw at our husbands at all. They are very helpful. They are, like,
and that's
we're lucky
the thing.
in a lot of senses.
They do more than most, like in our heads, right? Like that's what we always say. And like the men today, like do more than the men of like
absolutely
the past. And I'm not saying, and that's not a dig on them. It's just societal standards. But like also then there's that jealousy of like, if a guy at work says he's going to take off because he needs to help out with the kids, it's like, great dad, like the applause. And if we say we have to take off at work because something happens with our kids, it's like it's a deterrent. Told you, like, and it happens all the time. And it's not just men saying it. Sometimes it's like women saying it. And it gets to a point where you're like, I can't win. But like they keep winning. And then it does become a man versus woman. And it's not even that spouse's fault. It's like society's fault, or like the world we're living in's like the expectations that are put there and the expectations we put on ourselves. Okay, you and I both grew up with stay-at-home moms. They did everything and they were still stressed. And the resentment was different. Because now it's like, I do all of this for you. You come home and you're going to nitpick the one little thing I didn't have time to pick up. Like you could eat off the floor right now. But in like...
No, it's so true. And that's what I'm curious about. Like, I think there's a couple things that go into it too, because you and I obviously have the same job, right? Like we have a hybrid schedule of like, what's required. I mean, you're full time at home, but like I'm in the office sometimes, but a lot at home, we can have a little bit flexibility to our schedule when needed. And that, like, I'm curious how working moms that are, in that more shift work where you leave and you're out. Like if you obviously take some of that workload with you, right? Of the mental capacity, but like in our industry, when we're off at 5, like nothing happens again till we start back up in the morning.
Yeah.
And, there's, nurses out there that, you work your shift and, then someone's picking up where you left off and then you're back in at it and going into that capacity. I just am curious how that differentiates, because like we can shift very quickly between 1 minute we're mom, 1 minute we're work, 1 minute we're wife. And then like that could all happen within the hour. But like when you're a nurse and in the hospital, like
I think that
how do you handle that all in 1 hour? Like that's
a
a
lot of
different
my
circumstance.
friends are in that like situation, like are in the medical
Hmm.
field or in education. And I don't want to speak for them, but what they've said to me, like there's both, like there's a pros and cons to both of our situations. So for like us, we have no like people expect us to switch roles
Yeah.
7 times in an hour, and it's not easy to switch roles 7
Right.
times in an hour. Even though you can do it mentally, like to get back into the groove, it is challenging.
Yeah.
I work where I live, and if where I live is a mess or there's a million things to do there and I'm sitting in my at home office, like then I
Right.
leave work to come home. Like there's no peace in that space. Like my
Yeah.
home is no longer a safe haven for me because I feel like there's always
Right.
something. There's no separation. They always say like, don't watch TV in bed. Like there's no self separation. And I feel like we're forced, like you have to switch because that's just, you work
Right.
from home. So you should be able to switch, or you have a flexible job. You should be able to switch. Like,
Right.
but that's like the con of working from pro and con of working from home or having a
Hmm.
flexible job. When my friends that are like nurses and teachers, like when their kids call, like school calls sick or there's like like they can't just leave, they can't just be
Right.
like, hey, I
I
gotta
think that's what
go.
I was trying to say of like, you can't just like
Yeah.
get up and go. And
But also because they can't get up and go, there isn't the expectation, like the other person
right.
has to be able, like it's gotta be
Mhm.
more of a,
And that's where it's like back when, I mean, even just before like working at home was a thing, right? I mean, really before COVID, it was very rare people were working remotely. I like sometimes I'm like, how did moms do it?
I don't know,
Like if
because
you
neither of
were
us
at,
did it before.
some people were working, like our office used to be open 9 to 6. And I'm like, when would I have done literally anything?
Yeah.
Not that I'm like doing stuff all the time during the day that's personal, because I mean, we have a full work schedule, but I'm just like, I'm not gonna, sometimes I throw in a load of laundry and do that stuff. So it's like that, like, were they just working 24 hours on the weekends to like catch up with the housework, do the stuff you needed to, to make sure of things? I can only imagine this whole mental workload was a lot worse back then.
Well, yeah, and then like if you're in that traditional role still, like is that what it's like for them? I would imagine they have to have
Yeah.
better routines, better like,
Hmm.
I don't know. And sometimes I feel like, I don't know if you ever feel like this. I've told you this before. Like in my house, I just want to throw everything away and start fresh. Like just get rid of
Right.
everything. Like
Let's just start over.
just start over, like all
Yeah.
fresh, because then it's like, then there would be nothing to clean. There would be, but then also it's making the decision of, is it that important to have a perfectly, I don't know anymore. I just feel like there's just so much to do and not enough hours in the day and not enough versions of ourselves. And I laugh because it always, like every woman knows that invisible workload. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, they know the invisible workload because you're not
Yeah.
telling everyone everything you do all the time. Like I said, like you're not sharing that you made the doctor's appointment today, that you went and you went through the clothes and donated the 7 things that didn't fit and
Right.
had to go order. Because like I traveled last week, I'll use this example. I traveled last week for work and I was gone till Wednesday night, and it was character day on Thursday. They announced it while I was gone. So I ordered on Amazon while at my conference. And then when I got home at 9:30 at night, I was cutting up felt and I was making a My Zombie Goldfish costume for my child to wear on Thursday morning. That never crossed anyone else's mind in my life. And that was something that I did. But if I didn't do it, he would have went to school and he was talking about all the other kids' costumes and like how they liked his. Like he would have missed out on that. And that was it's
Yeah.
my burden to carry, or my like gift to give. And that's like where we talk about gratitude and the mindset we talk about all the time. Like I don't have to make a doctor's appointment. I get to make my kids' doctor's appointment because they are
Yeah.
healthy in here with me, or like I get to clean my home for the 7,000th time because
Right.
I have a home. And I get, like, you really do have to, like, and it's so hard because you're like looking all over Instagram and TikTok in these like perfect situations. But then there's a
Right.
train wrecks like us, which are I'm grateful for you who share your train wreck lives. But like, it is a mindset and
Yeah.
gratitude thing too. And it is some genetics. Like, I will tell you that my daughter the other day, my son had to basically ask him 7 times to do the basic morning routine. He's almost 6. And like 20 minutes later, my daughter woke up. She was eating her breakfast, playing house with her poodle. And I was like, one leg, and she's getting herself dressed, and she's not even 2 years old. Like, the multitasking capabilities are just
teaching her
innate.
important things.
But I don't even know if I taught it to her. I think that like it's just natural.
Instinct.
Instinct. Like how our brains work. Or she has severe ADD like me, one of the two. I don't know.
Could be.
Either way, I feel like at least we're all in this boat together, but I would like love tips and tricks on how to make the invisible workload
I feel
less
like
invisible.
That's something that's important with this is like people are scared to share it because I feel like too, like people that do share talking about the workload, like on TikTok and stuff, will get bashed from like other people being like, oh, well then you need help. Like your partner should be helping. And it's like, they do help. They do help. That's not the point. It's just, you have to be able to complain about it. So if that's you found the right place to complain, if that's even the right word. And we want to hear about your mental load, and especially from different situations, because me and Danielle have the similar situation. So I'm curious how other people are handling it with their situations.
Yeah, and their lifestyles and whatnot. And
I'm sure nobody's asked you out there.
No,
what is your mental load like? Oh, well.
Yeah. The only person who ever really asked me is my mom. Isn't that funny though? Or like each other, because my mom will be like, she knows, because even though she didn't work while we were little, they see it and they understand it.
Right.
And I think it's like you said, like we shouldn't shame each other or guilt each other or like feel bad about talking about it. We both love our husbands and we both think that they do a lot for us, or we wouldn't be where we are today. But sometimes you just got to vent, man. You just got to throw it all out there so you feel better. Like we can't all be, T Swift writing songs every time something bad happens. We got to just use each other.
And if you are feeling bad, you should switch and start listening to the man instead of I Can Do It With a Broken Heart to get motivated.
Yeah, that was my number one song in 2023. No, what year's today? This year, 2022. That was my number one played song. So that is like my amp up song, depending on your mood, It's
got to get you. It's got to get you into the boss bitch mode,
Mode.
So I hate that I said that, but like, you got to be in that mode.
Oh, that fueled me. Like that anger fueled me through a lot of things, because like I know, like it's like I can do this. And then the other song is about vulnerability, like me being me is fine because I'm the man. But then also like if I'm feeling a little vulnerable or a little teary eyed, it's fine because I'm still gonna kick ass. We're gonna kick ass no matter what. That's true.
Did you like this is a Swiftie podcast all of a sudden?
Yeah, who knew? And we're both Miley Cyrus girls, which is really funny now that I think about it.
Right?
F.U. was also a big song for me back in the day.
Right.
That was like
the Climb. Don't listen to that in the car though. You will
cry. Yeah, we're gonna share with you all of it. We're gonna go for it.
We'll start a playlist of anger songs to listen to in the car.
Yeah, based on your mood. It'll be fine. It's gonna be great, guys. But the truth is we all got this. We all have each other. And at the end of the day, we're lucky to have the platform to be able to talk about it and not have anybody like, who knows, we could end up with like 5 million hate messages later, but I don't care.
I hope. I welcome them.
Come on, bring it on.
We want hate messages. It'll fuel us even more. Add it to the mental list of comments we have to reply to.
Perfect. I love it.
Well, I think it's time for us to clock out and clock back into our 9 to 5.
Until next time.
Bye, guys.